Welcome to the Itty Bitty Podcast. I'm your host, Perry Phillips, and because I've killed so many brain cells, I feel like I'm getting dumber as I'm getting older. So the podcast is a great way to learn more about the things that I love. So each week we take a look at topics from the world of pop culture, including music, shout out to hip hop, movies, sports, comic books, video games, psychedelics, cannabis, and more. And the format might not always remain the same from week to week. I'm all over the place, what can I say? And I love the idea of a podcast that changes and grows with our listeners. So before we get too far, if you're listening so far, head over to ittybittypodcast.com to subscribe to the show on the platform of your choice, and make sure to say hi to us on social media. It's pretty much at Itty Bitty Podcast for everything. But without further ado, man, the Itty Bitty Podcast is anything but itty bitty. So let's get it going. Okay. I apologize for missing last week's episode. I did not want to, just push out an interview that wasn't one that I wanted to do. So I wanted to wait until I had something lined up. And this week I promised you I would have a really good interview to make up for it. And I think I did just that. So my guest he does a really good job. He's really unique, and he blends the world of hip hop, pop culture, video games. It's hard to kind of label him as a nerdcore rapper or whatever, but he's really unique about his style, and he actually has really good lyrics. And so it's not like a gimmicky type of thing he's got going on. So we talk a little bit about that. But anyway, my guest is Mega Ran. He's a hip-hop artist formerly named Random, and so we talk a little bit about the name change, about his how he got into hip-hop, and his relationship with like the nerd community. So it was an awesome interview. I'm really, really pleased with how it came out, and I know that a lot of people are stuck inside, so hopefully this will give you something fun to listen to while you're, trying to get through all the stuff that's going on. So without further ado, this is not a podcast about Mega Ran. It's the Itty Bitty Podcast. It's anything but, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Itty Bitty Podcast. It's the Itty Bitty Podcast. It's the Itty Bitty Podcast. The Itty Bitty Podcast.
All right, welcome to the Itty Bitty Podcast. I hope everybody's staying safe. And while everybody's on lockdown, I'm sure one of the big things that they're doing is they're playing video games, they're listening to music, they're reading comic books. They're doing stuff to pass the time, and all of that stuff is stuff that I love to do. And my listeners know that hip hop is one of my favorite things in the world, and you seem to combine all of that stuff into one. So my guest this week is Mega Ran. Mega Ran, thank you for coming on the show.
Dude, thank you for having me.
Appreciate you. So tell my listeners a little bit about you. So I know a little bit about you, former teacher. So shout out to you for being a man of education, because we need people in education. And I know it's not like the most, I know they don't get paid nearly enough what they should. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, how you got into music, and a little bit about your story.
Oh, cool. Well, as you said, I was a former teacher from Philadelphia. I grew up just loving hip hop, loving video games kind of equally. And throughout the years, I just tried to figure out a way to make them both a bigger part of my life. Even going through college and teaching and all that, I would still make sure I've tried to make time for including hip hop, video games in my life, and even in like lessons and, in the process of putting together like teaching curriculum stuff. I'll try my best to work those things in, because I realized that the kids I was teaching were also into that stuff. So, being able to speak the language is a huge advantage. So that was something that I definitely tried to use to my advantage. So I became like what they call the cool teacher because of that. But it was just some, really fun times. But eventually, music kind of took over. I made a couple projects about my favorite video games like Mega Man and Final Fantasy VII and others. And then we just went from there, and things just kind of blew up, and just took me to a new place. And it just got bigger and bigger. And eventually, I couldn't do both, so I stepped away from education to become a full-time musician in 2011. So since then, I've been here, just doing what I do.
So yeah, that was one of the things that drew me to you originally, was because I was a big Mega Man fan when I was a kid. That was like one of my favorite games. I have the Switch and I play it on the Switch, and I think I have it for Super Nintendo. I got to dig it out, but yeah, that's Mega Man was always one of my favorite games. It was just I used to put my hand through my sleeve when you pretend like you had the Mega Man handgun, and so that was what drew me to you initially. But the other thing is that you can actually really rap. Like, it's not like a gimmick. It's not, if you listen to your lyrics, you actually do a really good job of painting a picture. And a lot of times if you listen to hip hop, the one thing that I love about good hip hop is when somebody's telling a story. And I feel like you kind of have to tell your story through, like, if you're like for your song about like the Randalorian, that song, for instance, like you're telling the story of both, your story and the Mandalorian, and you do a really good job of kind of doing both. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it, man. I try to do that with the songs. Like, on one side, people may look at it and think it's a surface level song where it's just about that thing, like Mega Man or Splash Woman comes to mind particularly. It's a love song, but if you peel back some layers of it, you realize that it's not just about a video game, or not just about Star Wars, or in the case of The Mandalorian. So I try my best to make sure these songs have several layers, and it's very important to me to rap well. So thank you for that, for telling me that, because a lot of people will look at this on the surface and be like, oh man, it's a rap about video games. It's probably going to be terrible. It's probably going to be cringy, and they're probably not going to know how to rap. But it's very important to me to know how to rap. And so therefore, I've studied it. I've been a part of hip hop culture my entire life. I've been a fan since, the late 80s. And it's very important to me to give, even whether it's a video game or whether it's anything. I said something about that, like in a song. I said, whether I'm rapping about robots or growing up with no pop, I put my all in whatever I drop. So
Right.
it's that's very important to me to be like giving 110% to the construction of these rhymes and beats, to make sure that this stuff can hang. Like, it's not a gimmick. It's something that I do because I love and appreciate it.
No, I mean, from the beats to like the wordplay to the flow, everything really blends together well, um, in a way that just, yeah, it's almost like it's a different. It doesn't have to be the same as everything else. I mean, it doesn't have to be put into one thing, I think. So I think you do a good job. So that's why part of the reason I wanted to talk to you. So who are some of your influences? You said you've been listening since the late 80s. So what type of hip hop did you get into what was the first like aha moment?
I think it was Beastie Boys for me.
Beastie
Um,
Boys.
Listened to a lot of early Beastie Boys.
That was one of my first too, was Beastie Boys.
They got me kind of going. I mean, a lot of the Def Jam stuff. There was Beastie Boys. There was LL Cool J, Run DMC. There was a Public Enemy after that. So a lot of that stuff, just boom bap beats, like, and storytelling. Every one of them always had a story. There was always like this long story about going to another place or meeting someone crazy and having to fight through something, like almost like a Western movie. They always felt like movies. And so that's what attracted me to hip hop, is that there was a story element. Because when I was young, I was a writer, and later on I became an English major, but I was really into creative writing. And I think that's where a lot of my hip hop imagination came from, was just writing these, like, just ridiculously, epic tales, and then somehow just turning that into rap songs.
Did you start out with like a specific a specific goal in mind when you first started hip hop? Did you say I want to, go from this point to this point? Do I want
I
to
just want to be able to hang. I think that was really it. I just wanted to make music that brings something new to the marketplace, so to speak. I knew that there was a lot of very talented people around and a lot of folks that don't get their just due. But I wanted to make music that fit that I would like and that I would be looking for. Like where's the music from the perspective of the nerd who also loves great beats and rhymes and storytelling, but also wants to hear references about the things that they're into. So that's really what it was. I was trying to fill a void, by rapping to myself as a fan. Like, what do you want to
what?
hear?
Right.
So when I heard Wu-Tang, I knew that there was a place for something like this. I mean, these guys are like rap nerds, they're
Right.
they're legit geniuses that can rhyme and they're street hardened, but these guys are deep down, they're kids who are products of the TV shows and cartoons and kung fu flicks that they took in. So that really inspired me. And then later on, MF Doom, Deltron, I was just like, wow, now I can see where hip hop can go, like through space and time, through creativity and raps that anything can be done.
It's funny because when I was growing up, like liking nerd stuff and being into geeky stuff usually was almost certainly a way to get picked on or messed with. And now it's almost like everybody wants in on, Avengers was one of the biggest movies of all time. Star Wars is blown up to where they're nonstop Star Wars all the time. um,
Yeah.
it's just kind of blown up to where even if you're in that niche, it's almost like the possibilities are endless with the type of music that you do, just because there's so many different avenues that you could go. I know I've noticed that on Twitter that anytime like a new pop culture event or something happens, like that's big, like Mandalorian just was the last one that I can remember. And you made a song that coincided with that. I mean, that's kind of keeping you relevant every time. I just think that's a genius move to keep yourself relevant and kind of
And that's
move
what
forward and stuff.
Thank you, but that's literally what hip hop is. I mean, I do some workshops and teach kids about hip hop and the actual meaning of hip hop. To be hip is to be current, to know what's going on, and the hop refers to the beat that will make you want to move. So I think it's always been hip hop's job to be like on the pulse of what's happening. Whenever something happens, people make a joke like, "Oh, I can't wait to hear the first rapper to mention COVID-19 in a song," or something like
Right.
that, because it's typically rap's job to stay current when it comes to those type of things. So people expect to hear a punchline or something reflecting something that's currently happening. So that's just me taking what I know about hip hop and translating it to the things the other stuff I love, which is like the pop culture stuff. And it doesn't always work and it doesn't always inspire me. So it takes a piece of music or a piece of content that's inspiring, like The Mandalorian, to get me to do something. I mean, there's been 10 million Marvel movies to draw an example. There's been a ton of Marvel movies, but I haven't made any Marvel rap songs,
Oh, really?
and I love and I love Marvel comics too. So it's strange, but for whatever reason, I just haven't done it. So, so I don't want. Sometimes it's a situation where when I'm into something, I just want to enjoy it separately and not think of it like, oh, this is a homework assignment.
Right.
Like let me take notes while I'm watching,
Yeah.
and it could be a little weird. So I like to separate that and make sure that the music I'm into is because I'm into it, and not because of it being popular on the internet.
Right. Now, you were talking about like the evolution of hip hop. I've talked on the podcast before about how no other music really changes like hip hop does and still kind of keeps itself relevant, like you were saying. Like if you think of country music and you go back, a couple years, let's say you go back country music 20 years. It's got that twangy, it's a lot slower. now you see hip hop has kind of overtaken country. It's kind of reinvented itself with more, you've got like that dude Colt Ford. I don't really know much about country, but I've heard a couple names. And you got like rappers like Yellow Wolf that kind of have that country twang to them as well. Where was I going with that?
There's another guy, Kane Brown. I don't know if you heard of him.
Yeah.
Really talented cat. Like, and when I listen to his music, I'm like, is this country? Like I realized that the line is being blurred. It's R&B.
Right.
It's
Blanco Brown's really good.
Yeah, same. So I listened to a lot of this stuff, and I'm like, oh, country is completely changing. That Florida Georgia Line song, if it's meant to be, it'll be. I mean, that is a rap song,
right?
With Southern accents. Like, there's no question about it. It's a snap beat. You know what I mean? It's a totally trap song.
Right.
But it's amazing. I'm glad you brought this up. Sorry to take it a whole different direction, but the Lil Nas X situation with whether this song was country and all that was hilarious to me, because country has been borrowing pieces of hip hop culture and R&B culture little by little. And then when a kid who looks like a rapper is making music, they don't necessarily want to call it country. There's some minor, I don't want to say racism, but there's definitely some things that rubbed me the wrong way about that whole argument. But especially when you consider the birth and the originality or the origination of country music rooting in the blues, which is black music, Exactly, so yeah. I feel like all of the music is music. I don't even think the idea of genre makes no sense. It's only made for the Grammys and for these other folks, because rap is blending genres every day. And there's literally a rap song that's within every genre of music at this point. And I think it's awesome. But at the same time, people look at rap as being like the bastard stepchild of music. Oh, it's not really music, but everyone's borrowing pieces of it. So I find that really, really hilarious. But I know that wasn't your point. Sorry for derailing you.
No, I mean, it's that's what I was kind of getting at. Like, if you look at other music, the way it reinvents itself is it borrows from hip hop. I mean, rock music going back to classic rock, and then you had rock in the 80s, and then in the 90s you had like grunge, and you had the hair metal in the 80s, sorry. And then it just kind of evolved, and then it got to the point where it was doing rap metal, and people listened to like rap metal, and so it just a lot of other music takes from hip hop, and hip hop takes and samples from other music as well. It's almost like it's like one ecosystem, and like you said, it should, like, the label only exists for the Grammy. So I thought that was a good point. But yeah, that was kind of what I was getting at. But yeah, I understand. I did want to talk about, so elephant in the room right now, everybody's on lockdown. So how has this whole COVID-19 thing kind of affected you as a musical artist? How have you kind of adapted to my thinking with everything? Is like, so I lost my job in November. I stood up for myself. I'm kind of glad I did, because it sounds like they've been handling this stuff like really shitty. And so I'm kind of glad that I'm not working there for all this stuff. But I'm kind of on the feeling like everybody's joining me in isolation, because I've been working from home and everything for such a long time that I've already been on a routine and everything. So it's almost like a reset button has kind of been hit, and everything's changed completely. Everything's going to be completely different after this. So how have you as an artist kind of adapted to that with everything going on right now?
It's been tough. Honestly, I've been strangely optimistic. I know that this is going to turn around, and as an indie artist, for surviving basically by the seat of my pants for the past 7-8 years, I'm used to it. I'm used to coming up with new things. It's like, this reminds me of the day that, nowhere near the same, but it's the day that like we realized that like MySpace was just not the business anymore. And we're like, oh no, it's overrun with spam. what are we going to do? All of our fans are here. Like, what are we going to do? And then it was Facebook. And then, we moved to Twitter and to other things. And we just figured something out, and I think that's just what we do. We're creationists. And I think that people who create, are kind of built for this because we're used to that uncertainty. And, on a regular day, I don't know where my rent's coming from 30, 60 days from now,
Right.
So this isn't much different. I know that I have to hustle, and I enjoy the hustle, so therefore it's just now a new hustle. And this is a time I was just talking. I do a podcast, shameless plug, called
No, go ahead.
called Random Encounters, where I talk to folks. And I talked to DJ Qbert yesterday, and he was saying this is the perfect time now to pick up a new skill, and for anybody who's at home, like, get on the internet, take some classes, read on how to do things. I just built my PC. I just built a recording studio in my home, all in the past 2 weeks. I'd never done that before in my life. So just learning things from the internet or from friends, so it's opportunity. That's what this is. And people, you can look at it as a setback, or you can look at it as an opportunity. And I prefer to look at it as an opportunity. I'm a glass half full kind of guy all the time. So that's definitely where I am.
Right. No, I it's not a vacation. That's the thing that I think a lot of people need to be aware of. Like, it's just because stuff is shut down. If you treat it like a vacation, like, take a couple days, process what's going on. The thing I've been saying is that not everybody's going to make it out of this. It's a scary time because not everybody's going to make it out. One, with getting sick from the actual disease. Two, you're going to have people who have PTSD just from, the unknown. You're going to have kids who are growing up, not knowing, the kids that are kind of on that cusp, the cusp of that age. You're going to have medical workers who are going to have issues and stuff just from PTSD and all that stuff. So it's going to be an interesting time to see. And so I think if you have the ability to work from home and you can make moves and stuff while you have downtime, you should do it. Like, I'm trying to focus on selling stuff online, making sure that there's income coming in. If everything shuts down, I want to make sure that I have as much income coming in as I can. I'm not just sitting, waiting for something to happen. So that's the thing I've been saying. It's not a vacation. If you treat it like a vacation, you're going to, everything's going to start up and you're going to get left behind. So
that's the truth. Yeah, that is the truth. Like, it's not a vacation. That is, wow. That's like the best way to put it, and I hope
I've
that
been
people
unemployed
heed
since
that
November.
advice.
So I've had a lot of time to think about it.
I don't know. I thrive. I don't want to say I thrive, but I've always been a guy who works best with pressure, with my
Right.
back against the wall.
No safety
Throughout
net.
college, always waited for the last minute to get something done, and it always happened. I needed that pressure. I needed my back against the wall to work. And if I knew that I had a paycheck coming every Friday, I don't know if I'd work as hard.
Right.
And I don't know if I'd stay motivated if I knew that there was just some fund for rappers or for creatives that was going to come to me no matter what, whether I did a good job or a bad job. I don't know if I would really be motivated. So this is the best way, I think, to live. And I think hopefully everyone's going to come out of this with a whole different mentality. Like, hey, we don't know when everything could stop again.
Right.
But when it did the last time, we got prepared, So I think that this is going to show a lot of people what they're made of. And you're right. Like, people won't make it. People maybe that we know and love, God forbid, might not make it. And but I do think that the people that do come out of this are going to come out of it stronger and more prepared than ever.
Yeah, I really hope that we've hit a turning point, and this is like an eye opener for a lot of people, especially like just in general. As far as I've always been one to try to go after it, even if I've fucked up, I've failed, I've done this, I've done that. But I've tried different things to figure out what I want to do. And now I kind of have an idea of where I want to go, what I want to do. And I'm happier now. Like, I had anxiety when I was at my last job. I've talked about this before. I was in sales. I wore a suit and tie every day. I worked part-time even just because I hated being there that much. I worked part-time and I made like 60 grand a year.
Wow.
Just or not that much, like 55 grand a year.
Okay.
But I hated it. It was like those 4 days was just, and I knew I was fortunate and I was lucky and everything like that, but it almost was like a good thing. Now I don't have the anxiety that I had every day going into work. Like I used to drive into work literally feeling like I was, having a mild heart palpitations, and I couldn't understand why.
Wow.
And then I stopped going to work and I'm like, that stopped happening.
And
And,
there it is.
and so I've always been a big proponent of, just going for it. And I hope that a lot of people like realize that this is an opportunity to, especially if you're in the podcasting space. And I'm not somebody who's like, you have a podcast, your competition. I think that if you're looking for an excuse to start a podcast, now is the time. Like
Now's the time.
you can do anything. You could do a daily like quarantine diary. Like at this point, people are just looking for content, and so I think that take it as an opportunity. So anyway, we got off track, but so let's talk about what type of stuff you've done. Like what type of collaborations have you done with, what's some of the stuff that we've seen your work in? Like, what's your repertoire of work? Let's kind of take a walk down some of this, your prouder moments in your career.
Okay, well, let's see. I've just last year did a song for Ring of Honor Wrestling, for their Supercard of Honor show, which took place during WrestleMania weekend. We made a song called "Go Into the Garden" about Madison Square Garden, and that was a lot of fun. Before that, I'd done a few songs for wrestlers here and there. We did one for a guy named TJ Perkins, who's now in Impact Wrestling. Before that, my song "Splash Woman" had popped up in a couple different TV shows. It was in a show called Portlandia that I used to love a lot. And it was on Tosh.0 and on MTV a couple times. Right. And but I think most of my like big break was from Mega Man. Like I did a Mega Man tribute album called Mega Ran, and I thought that was catchy. And we did that in 2007. And it was Mega Man's 20th anniversary, and that was like kind of like my gift to Mega Man. I made this album about like what if I woke up and I was Mega Man, and Capcom heard it. They messaged me about it. They partnered with me, gave me the first license to an independent artist from a major video game company. Which then led to more travels, more going to play at Comic Cons and other really cool spots. Then I did something similar with Final Fantasy VII. We made an album called Black Materia, which is by far been my biggest project. I remember the day that it went sort of viral, like yesterday. It just kind of popped up and on Reddit on the first page, and a lot of people were texting me like, "Oh my gosh, you're on Reddit! Like it's blowing up." And then that same day, like PlayStation Magazine called me, and like Game Pro and a bunch of other magazines, like for interviews. And I was just like, whoa, this is kind of getting big.
Right.
And Game Informer put it in their magazine. They put it as like a holiday buy or something like that. And so, yeah, things started really moving from there. And that was when I first quit my job. So I think it was definitely the Black Materia album, which has kind of like really kind of set me apart in what I've been doing. And so I'm working on now a remake version to come out at the same time as the Final Fantasy VII remake. So I'm really excited about that.
I'm assuming you've played the demo. That's probably a stupid question.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what'd you think of it? I played it through. It was dope. I was a big fan of the game when I was growing up. The 2-disc set or whatever they did. I remember that big thick with the green PlayStation. What did it say? Classics. Yeah, that shit's like my childhood. So I'm excited for that one. Really excited for that. So you must get all the cool like stuff. Do they send you all the cool stuff from like Mega Man and all that stuff?
Not that much. Once in a while, like they'll send me demos when the new stuff comes out, or like an early code to play a game. They flew me out to do like a little they were doing a documentary series right before Mega Man 11 came out with IGN about like all the different Mega Man games and what they meant to people. So that was cool. So I've had some cool invites to some really like awesome stuff. I gotta say that's been like the best part of it is like the games I grew up playing, like the people now who make them like know who I am. So that's honestly been the best part of it is that not only that they know who I am, but they like appreciate my work, and that's not something I ever thought was was possible.
Can I ask you why you changed your name?
Well, because Random, which was my original name, is really difficult to locate on the internet.
Uh,
The word random in itself is just like means like not easy to find, So typing in random rapper might get you
oh, right.
all kinds of things on Google. So now, though, I'm very happy to say it's funny that it happens now after I changed my name. But if you Google random rapper now, you get Megaran, which
Now,
is funny.
that's
So
funny.
for a while I was random, then I was random, aka Megaran, then I was just Megaran. What I've done with this is probably not recommended. I think changing your professional name is a really tough reboot for a lot of things, a lot of reasons. And so therefore, some of my stuff says random, some of my stuff says Megaran. I had to go back, I had to delete things, re-upload it. You lose all your play counts, you lose everything. So uh, really be sure when you pick your name for your podcast, for your thing, any of your creative endeavors, make sure that name, one, isn't used by someone else, and two, is easy to locate. I wasn't thinking about the Google ability of random at the time when I came up with it. It was based on a comic book character who popped up in an X Factor, and there's this guy who could shapeshift. And he was a really, really cool looking character, big and muscular with sunglasses, like goggles and a do rag, and like he could just shapeshift. And I thought, oh, that's me, with music, I can shapeshift. So that was where random came from. If I was thinking, I would have just maybe changed I don't know, changed the A to a 4 and then the O to a 0, maybe done like leet speak or something with it. And then just kept it the same way. But yeah, man, I had to change the name just because I wanted it to be easier to find.
You're like Bruce Lee. What does he say? You like water? That's like,
Like water, be
yeah,
water, my
yeah,
friends.
yeah.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
you go.
absolutely.
I just got myself off topic. Uh-oh. I just lost my train of thought. Um, I'll be all right. So that I think that was the big lesson. That have you watched Tiger King yet? I know you've probably seen it
No,
pop
not
up.
yet. I've been hearing the internet talking about it, but I have not.
Yeah, that's a big thing in there. It's a big point of that is getting the name to show up on the internet. There's a whole thing about like he tries to steal this lady's name and shit, and it's a wild documentary. I recommend watching it. You'll go through it really quickly.
Okay.
It's insane. All the people are insane. I've watched it twice. I watched it once through, and I was like, my wife has to see this, and so I made her watch it with me, and we watched it through in like the span of a day. So she's a nurse.
My
Oh, she,
wife, my wife said I need to watch it too, so we're probably gonna watch it together, maybe even tonight. Um, she's funny like that. If I would have watched it before her, then she wouldn't have wanted to watch it. She's like, "No, you already seen it, so you know."
yeah.
But so yeah, we're waiting for each other to watch it.
Yeah. Full disclosure, I went out, so this past weekend, I know you're not supposed to like be out and about. I went out to the woods. And so
What?
I went out to the woods with a couple of buddies of mine. And I did a little bit of acid just because we had this plan for a while. And so I was
Okay.
out there for a while, just, we did our thing. Then I went back home like hours later, like that nighttime, went home. And I got home, and the first thing I put on was I get home, and that's the first thing that shows up on Netflix is Tiger King. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna watch this to wind down, and it was not the best thing to watch. It'll have you on the edge of your seat. It's definitely wild. So
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm looking forward to checking it out.
Um, so anyway, so what are some games that you're playing right now with everything being shut down? What are some of your? Let's talk some video games for a little bit.
Yeah, well, last night I was playing NBA 2K20. My team made the playoffs, and then the computer just started cheating me unmercifully in the first round. So I'm
Who's your
down
team?
0-2. I'm the Suns,
Suns, I figured.
and they're not like my team, but in this game I created a player and he got drafted to the Suns. And man, like they are cheating so bad. I'm down 0-2 and because they're just making every shot. It is so frustrating. So I don't know if I'm going to get back on that anytime soon. That was frustrating. But I am waiting for my Nintendo Switch to come in the mail so I can play Animal Crossing. And
Should I get Animal Crossing? Is it that good? I'm afraid
well,
I'll lose my wife to it.
I
That's
haven't played the
my
new one
fear.
yet, but it's probably a fun game for her to watch you play or you guys watch each other play together type of thing. I think you'd enjoy it really. But if you haven't played the old ones, then I'm not sure.
No,
But
I think
it's
she'll like it too much. Like she plays Township or whatever that game is on her phone, and she's a big
yeah.
Legend of Zelda fan. So we have the couple of Zelda games for the Switch, and those are her like favorite games. But I think Animal Crossing would be like I would just lose the TV, I would lose her, and she would just be
Yeah.
stuck in it. But it looks good. I don't know anything about it aside from what I've seen online, but it looks interesting.
Yeah, that's I think in that case you'll enjoy it, but yeah, you have to be careful. You just might lose your way to it.
I finally started The
Um
Witcher 3. I had never played any of the Witcher games, and it was on sale,
Richard,
so
Rich,
I grabbed that.
great game, great game. I just played the demo to Tomb Raider. What is the Tomb Raider? Shadow of the Tomb Raider,
Mm,
and I'm like about to purchase that today because the demo was so good.
those things
Um
work. Like at the
yeah,
end of the
yeah.
Final Fantasy demo, it's like purchase. I'm like, yes, I'll
Yeah,
do
like
that.
absolutely. Yeah, so I played that demo. I played the Resident Evil 3 demo, and I'm ready to purchase that. So yeah, there's this is like a crazy time for games. I'm glad that none of these games have been like pushed back, but if everything comes out on time, then this is going to be a crazy next few weeks,
Yeah, they need to
between
get The
Resident
Last of
Evil and
Us
Final
out.
Fantasy. Oh man, I can't wait for that.
That's
So I'm
what
still
get
playing the
me
first one.
prepared.
I didn't beat it yet, but it's free. It was free on PlayStation, so I started playing that. That would usually be my late night game. Like I'd play something for about 30, 40 minutes before I go to bed, and
How
that
far
was
did you
that.
get in the first one?
Where am I now? I'm not super far. I'm like, okay, let's see. I don't want to give away too much to anybody who might be
Oh, so
listening,
we
but
spoil shit on here all the time. You just say spoilers, spoilers. If you don't want to
okay,
know, don't listen.
spoilers. So the girl, all right, so the girl who I was with just like died in like the standoff, you know,
Okay,
uh, and then now it's just me and the little girl. So I feel like I'm pretty
you're
early
not.
in the
Yeah,
game.
you're very early. There's a point in that game. The reason I was asking, I won't spoil it for you, but there's a point in that game that I tried to play it through a second time. I got through it the first time. The second time around, I went to try to do it, and I can't do it. I won't. Like, it's the scariest thing ever. So you'll know it when you get there.
Wow. Oh,
But yeah,
okay.
I love that game. It's so I'm very excited for the sequel, and they're doing a movie or a show or something like
I
that.
think a series is coming, so I know that's going
Yeah,
to be really good.
yeah. So what else are you playing these days? You play any old school shit?
Yeah, I do. I stream a lot, so twitch.tv/ Mega Ran, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, I stream Mega Man Mondays, so I'll play a Mega Man game. So on Mondays, I've been playing Mega Man Zero, which are super hard games.
Mm.
Uh, just very frustrating. Um, and I just last night played a game called Treachery and Beatdown City. It's coming out next week for Switch and Steam. It's like a beat 'em up with RPG elements. It's really fun. Um, so yeah, I try to play something new usually every week or so. But I just got this new PC, so I'm like really excited to like play real PC games now.
Mm.
Uh, so that's why I tried Tomb Raider on it, and it ran perfectly. So I was just like, man, I see why people say this Master Race stuff. Like this looks really, really good on my PC.
I know.
You know,
I
I
want
just
to
need a
do it eventually, but I can't do
I
it
just
right
need a
now.
couch in front of my computer. That's about the only thing that PC doesn't have for me. Is like, I want to be sitting on the couch and relaxing
Right? Yeah.
while I play.
You got to get like a ergonomic chair or something when you're playing on the PC.
Yeah.
Um, um, what was I gonna say? So, what have you been watching lately? What are some like like what are some things that I should be watching if I'm just a casual, if I'm looking for something geeky to get into? What would you recommend?
Well, it's not really geeky, but I'm definitely geeking out on Ozark on Netflix.
I've heard good things
I've
about
been
that.
I've been all about it. It's been super fun to watch it. It just gets crazy. I don't know if you've ever watched Breaking Bad, but it
Mm-hmm.
feels a lot like that. Where just like things just keep happening. Like, oh my gosh, it's just insane amounts of like drama that happen in this show are like nuts. So it's crazy. So I'd recommend that. What else am I watching? I just started an anime, which was the oh man, what is it now? Oh, Kengan Ashura on Netflix.
On Netflix.
Re- Really, really good. Um, that's it, really. I haven't spent a lot of time watching stuff. Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm in full grind mode, so I'm creating every day.
Right.
So I don't have a lot of time to sit around and watch stuff until I do something at the very end of the, you know, like end of the day is usually when I pull something like that out.
So what's the process behind? So like, let's say something comes out and you want to do a song for it. Like, what's the process for? Do you hear about something coming out and then you're like, all right, I'm gonna want to write something about that, or do you usually just watch something and then you get inspired to write a song about it? How does that process usually work?
Yeah, I get inspired, and when I get inspired, I'm like, I'll sit down and write. But everything I watch doesn't do it. I don't know. It's just like a weird thing. If I hear it, then I know. But I can't really explain it. It's a weird tick in my brain, honestly. But like when it hits me, I'm like, oh, I got to get to work on this. Like,
Right.
but even when I'm watching stuff, I'm definitely listening. I'm checking for music. I'm listening to the sound design on a TV show, on a cartoon, anything. And when I hear something that like just that, I don't know, it perks up a certain point in my brain, then I'm like, all right, I need to really study this, and then I'll go try to search for another version of the track to listen to it, and I'm like, false alarm, it doesn't move me, or yeah, this is it. And then so yeah, there's really not a process, but when I do hear it, I get in front of the computer. Someone always has it on YouTube or somewhere, and then I can listen to it on the loop, and that's when I'll start kind of getting ideas for how to make it work. And it doesn't always work. The Witcher, I tried to do something with toss a coin to The Witcher twice. First time it did not work. Second time it really did work out, but I had to get some help. So I reached out to a guy, DJ Joe, who had done a cover of Toss a Coin, and but we sped it up a bit, and we did this really like unique beat progression with my man Rifty Beats, and then Kadesh Flow and Oh My joined. So it wound up being like a 5-person collab, but it turned out just the way I wanted, but it wouldn't have happened earlier than that.
Right. Now, so you had mentioned earlier, I'm all over the place, I'm sorry, but you had mentioned earlier about how Capcom had reached out to you about Mega Ran. Have you ever like wanted to be included in a Mega Man game, like have the character of Mega Ran in a Mega Man game? And would you want to be a
No,
hero
no,
or a
I
villain?
don't. Oh no, I don't want to be in any video games.
No?
Nah, who would want? Just kidding. Of course, I would want to be in a video game. Like that is the dream. Like who wouldn't want to be a part of that? Especially a game that I love so much, like Mega Man. So that would be incredible. I don't know if it'll ever happen or how to even make it happen, but I think that what I want to do is just keep doing what I do. And I've had people hit me up. It's never really come to fruition, but I've definitely had people hit me and been like, hey, why, we're making a game. We're making a Mega Man clone, a Mega Man like game. And we would love to put you on that, or we would love to get that going somehow. And then, but it's never really come to fruition. Like,
Right.
so hopefully one day it'll happen, but it has not yet.
Now, do you have your own comics as well?
There's a guy who made some comics for me. J1 Studios has done a Mega Brand Language Arts comic. But there's a few of them online. You can get them at j1studios.com. And there's one hard copy, like a trade paperback, but it's probably out of print. Like if you got it right now, then you got a collector's item. But I would like to get into more comics again, like maybe reboot, kind of redo the story and start it over again. So I'm really excited about that opportunity or possibility too, because I've been talking to a couple of comic guys about that. So hopefully that still happens.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what are you currently listening to? Like, what are some artists that you're currently listening to on a rotation, or what are some artists that, you would look forward to working with as far as newer artists?
Wow. Not necessarily someone I don't know how I would sound together with them, but there's a really cool group. It's a man and woman called Buke and Gase, and they have some really cool stuff. Like I don't even know how to explain the stuff that they do, but it's really fun. It's pop music, but it's just a really weird indie rock steampunk kind of vibe to it. So I'd recommend anybody check out Buke and Gase. Also, really into I mean, when it comes to hip hop, I'm into the Roots. I'm into there's this group called Griselda who's doing some
I
really
love
cool stuff.
Griselda.
Anything that they do, I'm checking for. Wale, I love. Man, there's a lot of cool stuff right now. There's another band called Sylvan Esso that I really really love. They are man and woman who makes really cool pop songs. They're from like North Carolina. I just like really weird stuff. Anamanaguchi is chiptune pop stuff that I really like. Anything with Hatsune Miku has been really, really fun and interesting for me to listen to. The Weeknd's new album is really good.
Yeah, that was good.
So yeah, there's like a few things I'm into right now, but honestly, without being able to get out of the house as much, I think most of my music is done on my commute. So like when I'm driving someplace, so I don't get to listen a whole lot, or if I'm cleaning up the house, that's usually when I listen. I'm cooking, I'm cleaning,
Yeah.
or driving, and if I'm not able to do those things, then I don't get to listen a lot. So now I'm working on something new that I can't talk about, but I think just with the time that we have, I was like, oh, I need to be being creative. So I'm working on a new project that's a top secret thing right now.
Yeah. I finally started, speaking of comics, I've been wanting to work on a comic forever. And my wife and I came up with an idea together. So I finally started writing it out last night. And so I've got to get it all, do the outline and get that stuff going. So I was
Nice.
so I'm trying to, I've got a bunch of different projects going right now. So, yeah, it's a good time. Like you said, we talked about, it's a good time to take this as an opportunity to get a hobby, work on something that you haven't worked on in a while, clean your house up. I found that like one of the first things I did when I lost my job was I cleaned the house, because I was like, all right, I got to clean the house, start with a clean house, cleaned everything top to bottom, and then started there, and then worked on the next thing. And then you just kind of make a list and get yourself going. This is just coming from somebody who's been working from home for a little while. But yeah, it's crazy right now. It's a crazy time. The one thing that I have noticed is there's been a lot more like Instagram lives and stuff that's been really cool. There's been a lot of more like interactive things with people. So I think that's going to be like a new, when everything's all said and done, I think that's going to be a new way that people interact, just because it's worked so well. Everybody loves it. And it's like everybody has their different thing. You can go to different people's pages and they'll have a live. So I'm trying to think of something I can do. I can probably do like a Friday night meal or something. But yeah. So I don't want to take up too much of your time. Is there any other like stories that you want to tell about, about your life in hip hop, or, any other messages that you want to get out before we wrap it up here shortly? I mean, you can plug anything you want, and I'll also put it in the show notes and stuff too. But yeah, I always like to give people that opportunity.
Thanks. Honestly, what I've been doing while I've been home has been doing a lot of live streams on Twitch. So again, I would say come through and join us on Twitch. I try to stream at least 3 times a week. That is twitch.tv/mega_ran. Also, I do DJ sets, so I'll play some music. I'm doing a live set pretty soon. I don't know when this is going to air, so I won't do anything dated, but I do
It
have
should be pretty
live
soon. I haven't decided if it's going to be this weekend or I'll probably be on a regular schedule on this Tuesday, so it'll be this Tuesday that's coming up.
So be on the lookout for live performances. There's a bunch of live like festivals from home, like live stream festivals that I've been talking to about partnering up on things. So be on the lookout for that. I got this great idea involving that. There'll be new singles coming out at least every couple of weeks. We just put out one, Wiley's Revenge, produced by the CFOs who do a lot of the WWE's music. So that is out there now. You can go grab it. Should be on Spotify and everywhere. So yeah, it'll be a lot more production coming from me. Like I'll be sitting down making beats more. So you might hear my beats on other folks' stuff. You might hear me rapping. You might hear me playing the guitar. Who knows? I mean, I've just been trying to do so many different creative things. So we're ramping up the production. So there's going to be podcasts, going to be music, there's going to be live streams. We're just going to be as many opportunities as I can take to be creative. I'll be definitely doing that. So look out for me.
I did want to ask you, did you have another minute for a quick question?
Sure, I got another minute.
So I was going to ask you about wrestling. So I was big into wrestling when I was younger. I kind of fell out of touch with wrestling. I'm not so much into it, but the AEW does kind of have me intrigued. So what would you say would be a good jumping off point for somebody trying to get into wrestling who maybe was in it? Like I was into it when I was a kid, but it's been a while since I've watched it.
Well, AEW I think is a good place to go because I think their show's only been on for like 4 or 5 months. So there's not too much to go back through to. But they do a really cool show on YouTube called Being the Elite, where they do like kind of a catch-up thing, but also like they tell you some stories, the underlying background stuff between a lot of the wrestlers in this weekly program. So it helps you to keep up without having to watch a 2-3 hour show, through a whole bunch of stuff. If you just want to keep up with, okay, well, why does this guy hate this guy? Why is this guy friendly with this guy? So I think Being the Elite will help you a lot. So I think AEW is a good starting point if you're interested in just jumping back in and checking it out. And they have some of the best athletes, some of the best wrestlers in the world. So it's all super quality stuff.
All right. Where can people find you? Did you get a chance to plug Twitter and all that stuff?
Oh, well, Twitter is MegaRan. Instagram is Mega_Ran. I'm at megaran.com. For merch, you can go to megaranmerch.com. And for music, you can go to megaranmusic.com. I try to make it pretty easy. It's all there. You just type in Megaran, and you'll probably see me smiling at you. Give it a thumbs up.
All right. Well, thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it. I know that time is precious right now, so thank you for taking the time out today. I really do appreciate it. And I'll talk to all my listeners next week, and I'll talk to you later.
No problem.
Thanks for tuning in to the Itty Bitty Podcast. Remember, every episode of the show is available on ittybittypodcast.com. You can find our social media there, and we also have our show Choice Nugs only available there as well. So make sure you head over to the website to find all the information you can. You can sign up for our newsletter and everything to get notified anytime a new episode comes up. So everybody stay safe out